Welcome to the IdahoSports.com high school preview show. I'm Will Hoenike, joined by Matt Harris, Paul Kingsbury. We'll get going with the 5A classification now. We'll get things going, Idaho's largest classification. First of all, let's take a look at last year's state tournament bracket. The 5A state tournament bracket, Rocky Mountain winning the state championship. They beat Mountain View in a bit of an unusual, you don't see too many Saturday afternoon state championships games. They won it at Bronco Stadium. A good tournament overall. Obviously, you see the best of the best when you get to the 5A state tournament, and, well, all the state tournaments really, but that's when you crown the best, and when it all comes push to shove, Paul, Rocky Mountain proved they were the top dog in the 5A classification.
You know, they did, and it was a beautiful day. You said it was a Saturday. The lines getting in there, it was just a great atmosphere for a game. I'm envious of Vince and Josh and the guys that did that game that day. But, coming into this year, coming off of that, Rocky Mountain, their only loss on the year was to Mountain View, and Mountain View's only loss was that final game to Rocky Mountain. So coming into this season, we're kind of looking at almost the same thing. Mountain View brings back a lot of kids. Rocky Mountain brings back a lot of kids. Offensive lineman Zach Red, Keegan Freeborn, big-time players. But you also have to look at Capital. Drew Korf is back. Eagle has players coming back. So the 5A SIC is going to be fun to watch. I think it's going to come down to really four teams this year. CUNA coming up. In fact, we're here at CUNA High School right now. CUNA coming up to 5A right now. Are they going to be in the mix the first year? Probably not. Sorry, guys. But probably not, as they work their way into it. But as far as looking into it, Mountain View, Rocky Mountain could be what we're looking at the end again.
Mountain View has been to 2 consecutive state championships. They've lost both of them. Matt, do you see anything in particular that they need to do to get over the hump and actually get that state championship?
Well, I guess part of it would be, they played very well throughout the whole year. Offensively, they just blew teams out of the water. They were able to basically run past them, throw over top of them. And when it comes to the defensive side, you saw, especially in that last game, Rocky Mountain just ran them all over. And I'm sure Judd Benedict at Mountain View has really thought about that all year long. What have I got to do to try to slow them down this year, because they're a very run-oriented offense? I think a lot of it just Rocky Mountain got hot at the right time. Mm-hmm. And Mountain View, they had a great run. They maybe peaked a little bit earlier in the season than they maybe would have liked. But I do believe that, they've got a lot coming back. They're a very talented team.
No Trey Bell for Mountain View,
right?
But they do have Tucker Rovig, the quarterback.
Right,
so they're definitely not hurting there in terms of the playmaker category.
No, absolutely not. And like we said, there's a lot of teams in the 5A SIC to keep an eye on. But, there's a lot in the rest of the state as well.
Capital loses Sam Brixley, the super explosive wide receiver. But Todd Simmis, especially when you're talking about the Boise Metro schools, you almost have to start with Capital every year as far as the team to watch out of the Metro.
Yeah, absolutely. They play all their games at Donna Larson. Just a little side note, we're starting Boise Metro Game Night, doing all the games from Donna Larson. We've expanded our game night series from Eastern Idaho. It's working well. So Boise Metro Game Night is what we're going to be doing. So you'll be seeing a lot of, Boise, Timberline, Capital, and Bora. It'll be fun.
And with Capital, they've been to the playoffs for 10 straight years now, Will. And one of the things as well is they won the Idaho Potato 7-on-7 challenge as well, the passing tournament over the summer. So that was a big thing for them to see that coming in. They're going to have some offensive momentum, and they've got a lot of players. They're a very talented squad. They may be in some serious contender for the title this year.
When you're talking about the 5A SIC, you'd almost be remiss if you didn't mention Paul Peterson and the Eagle Mustangs. They're another team that's there year in and year out, and they're for a long stretch, late 90s into the early to mid 2000s. You basically started 5A conversations with them. Now they're, they may not be the runaway dominant freight train that they were there for a while, but still a very, very talented team.
It's a talented team. Last year 7-4. A lot of teams go great. For Eagle, it's something they need to build on. Coming into it, they've got a tough schedule. They open at Mountain View, then versus Highland. They close with Rocky Mountain. At Bora, it's a tough schedule for Eagle this year, but if anybody's going to have him ready, it's going to be Paul Peterson.
Well, then how about that pod in general? The 5A SIC plays in 2 different pods.
Right.
Bora, Eagle, Rocky Mountain, Timberline, all in the same. That's a tough group.
Oh, yeah. And the way they divide them, I'm not sure what the algorithm or, formulaic expression is. I didn't go to math college. But
those math colleges can be tough.
That's why you're here with us.
They can. But the way they break it up, it's interesting to look at every year. You've got Mountain View in the one pod looking at, they've got Capital. Eagle or CUNA coming in. Hey, we're a 5A school. Oh, we've got Rocky Mountain and Bora in our pod. Yeah. Thanks. So, and Timberline. There's all these teams that every year you never know what you're going to get. I mean, this is a preview show. We don't have our crystal ball here.
I left the Magic 8 Ball at home.
So, we're going off the best information we have. It's high school sports as well. You never know what you're going to get year to year.
Well, and I think to build off that, Paul, I mean, if you're going to be a champion, you're going to have to beat these people anyways.
Anyway, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter who's in your conference.
You're going to go through them eventually.
You're still going to have to go through them eventually, and that's one of the things that's great about high school sports is that you may have that opportunity to go through that path. In some other sports, you may not. And in high school football, I mean, you have a limited opportunity every single week. It's a true live or die sport from week to week when it comes to trying to stay in the playoffs and whatnot and to trying to advance. And, I mean, no matter what happens, you still have to beat those teams no matter what if you want to be called the champion.
Moving over to District 5 and District 6 now, for years, any conversation over there, it begins with Gino Mariani and the Highland Rams. This year appears to be no different. Looks like another good team in Highland.
Yeah, I mean, they've been to the playoffs for 21 straight years now. I mean, that's huge. they have an incredible winning record, incredible tradition as well. They've got a great defense coming back this year too. They've got several D1 caliber players that are going to be wreaking havoc once again for the Highland Rams. You've got Aaron Manu. You've got Tommy Togiai, who's got multiple Division I offers. Yeah. You've got Isa Clemente, who's also got multiple Division I offers as well. They graduated a couple of guys who went on to play at ISU in Oregon, in Hunter Eborn and Wayne Kirby. I guess for them, the question was, much as it was last year, as it is going to be this year, where is the offense going to come from? They had a quarterback change midway through the season last year when Peyton McCarthy stepped in for Connor Harding. Right. And it's for them, it's who's going to step up and to fill into those roles. Now, they've got great skill position players too, Will. But one of the things that Gino Mariani has mentioned is that they're going to have to rebuild their offensive line 100%.
Right, that's what I was going to mention, that they have that brand new offensive line. But it's not like these kids are stepping off the bus for the first day of football either. I mean, these kids have grown up in that Highland program, where you don't want to say it, but they rebuild, or they reload, they don't rebuild. Yeah. So coming into it, you might look at it and say, they've got a brand new offensive line, but it's going to be a good offensive line.
Yeah. Elsewhere in that division, it feels like it's always been a race for second. You look at Bonneville; they play 6 of their first 7 games at Thunder Stadium. Mm-hmm. Hillcrest plays 5 of their final 7 at Thunder Stadium. Madison, they've had some good runs in the past. Rigby, interesting to see what we get out of Rigby. You don't want to say the race is for second place. Obviously, you play the game for a reason, but it looks like it's wide open behind Highland.
I think that even some of those teams may have a chance to surprise them as well. It depends what they bring back on offense. That's going to be the main thing is Highland's defense can carry them quite a bit. What can the other teams bring offensively against them? But you look at Madison, for example. They bring back Zeke Birch, who just committed to play at Boise State. Mm-hmm. They bring back a number of skill position players. Now, they graduated a ton of seniors this year. They lost 24 seniors overall from this last season. But they lost Josh Crane, Zach Anderson, their quarterback, Connor Stoneberg, Connor Wills, Bryson Sidaway. I mean, they had a lot of them. But Mitch Buck, an excellent coach in Madison. They're always ready. They're always fast-paced, and they're always ready to throw it downfield. I mean, they always have a chance every single year. Hillcrest, I mean, it kind of depends what they have coming back as well. They lose Bridger Blakesley. They also lose Porter Empey, who is their main running back, who's going to provide the offense for them this year. And then, like you mentioned, Will, Rigby could be a potential team that may make some noise. It depends on how they're going to move up into the 5A level because there is that noticeable jump.
And as we look into the season, a great thing here at Idaho Sports is we have some really good broadcast teams over in Eastern Idaho. You guys, Lauren's there, Lucas is over there. So we're able to cover a lot in the past. So one nice thing for the fans is, we're looking at this saying, Madison, it could be Highland. What's Rigby going to do? Well, we're going to be showing a lot of those games, which is always a lot of fun. So, stay tuned, basically. Check out the broadcast schedule and say, hey, where are they going to be this week? And there's always going to be some good games going on.
Panhandle, District 1, District 2, we did not forget about you, the Inland Empire League.
We love you.
That has been, we talk about Highlands Playground over in District 5 and District 6. It's been kind of Coeur d'Alene's playground the last several years up in District 1, District 2. Sean Amos, the head coach, he's got the offensive newcomer of the year, Colson Yankoff at quarterback, a young man that has already committed to play at the University of Oregon, coming off of another 7-win season last year. Any reason to not expect more of the same from the Vikings?
No, they're going to do the same thing. It's the train just continuing for them. They have a great program.
And that's what really defines a lot of these teams we've been talking about is the program. It's not the varsity team. It's what's coming up underneath the JV, the freshmen, In Eastern Iowa's a great kid, and here it's Optimist. What's coming up underneath, and have those coaches from the younger programs bought into the system of the varsity coach? Because if they're being coached the same way, when they get to be varsity age, like we mentioned with Highland, they're just stepping in. They're stepping in, filling a role, doing the job they've been doing for 10 years anyway.
Well, it's the same thing. You look at any program in any sport, really, especially in basketball, you see those teams who are they're constantly at the state tournament every single year. Why? Because they run the same thing growing up. When they step in onto the varsity team, it's the same stuff that they've been running for quite some time. And it's the same way with the Highlands, the Madisons, the Coeur d'Alenes, all the successful teams that we've been talking about here so far. All of those teams, they run the same things, and for those kids, it's just second nature to them. It's not having to relearn stuff every single year.
And one thing with the northern schools, and this isn't 5A specific, but we're talking 5A, Coeur d'Alene, Lake City, Post Falls, Lewiston, between the 4 of those schools, they're playing 15 non-Idaho games during the regular season. Coeur d'Alene doesn't face an Idaho team until October 7th. As we're doing our IdahoSports.com polls and whatnot, and the whole state is trying to get a feel for how good these teams are, it's hard. It's almost like they're hiding, up there saying, we're going to play these teams, and we beat them. Were they good? We got beat. How good were they? You don't know. Does it help them when it comes playoff time to be playing out-of-state teams? I think Idaho, our caliber, basically our level of talent has gone up so much in the last 10 years that it doesn't matter anymore. It used to be, you played an out-of-state team, really. Now it's, Washington saying, you played Coeur d'Alene? Wow.
Right. 2 new coaches up north in District 1-2 this year. Bryce Erickson taking over at Lake City, replacing longtime legendary Van Troxel taking over as head coach there. And also Blaine Bennett taking the reins full-time at Post Falls for Jeff Hines, who unfortunately succumbed to cancer after a lengthy battle this year. Right. Will be interesting to see how those 2 teams respond to their new challenges and to their new systems.
Right, and buying into the program is so important for a new coach. It's something that it has to keep them up at night before the first practices. Are my guys going to buy into me day one? And if they do, watch out. It makes it so much easier for the coach to step in and know that his guys are understanding what he's saying, buy into it, and want to do it. I mean, you get a group of teenage boys that don't want to do what you're telling them to do, forget it. Just sit down. So up north, these teams, these new coaches, they're coming into programs that have been established. They're long-time winning programs. It's going to be exciting to see.
It's also, you're going to see there may be a little bit of some growing pains there too, Paul, because you're going to have teams adjusting, really. They're adjusting to a new system overall. Got to get used to new terminology as well and whatnot. So you're going to have maybe a little bit of an adjustment period there. I mean, you typically see that when there's a coaching change overall, and I think that there is a lot of optimism in those programs. Lake City is revitalized, with a new coach. And you've got Post Falls. They're very motivated to honor Coach Hines with their season this year. And I think that's one of the things that will help them along throughout this year as they try to emotionally cope with losing their head coach. And but again, a lot of excitement for the Panhandle schools, and I'm very excited to see what they're going to bring to the table.
Well, you head down the highway a little bit, you hit Lewiston. I mean, Lewiston's kind of the
won 9 games last year.
9-2, but they're not in the Coeur d'Alene metro area. So they're the 5A IAL team that's down the road.
That's over there,
But
they're the thumb, so to speak.
9-2, they return, Colton Richardson, senior coming in at quarterback. And I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, but we cannot forget Lewiston. I mean, they had, one of their best seasons in a very long time last year, and they're just set to improve this year.
Yeah, IEL MVP Colton Richardson. We're doing something here in these preview shows. We're calling it our on the spot. We're going to put our guys on the spot here. 5A, Matt Harris. Who's a team that we're maybe not talking about at this point that maybe we should be watching for, a sleeper team?
Believe it or not, I think it's going to be the Rigby Trojans, and it's interesting to say that because you have Hayden Livingston, who was their quarterback, now at BYU. Then you have their 3-year starting linebacker Solo Taylor, who's now at Boise State. And I think that's one of those things where you lose them, and who's going to step into their role? Well, ever since Randy Waite has showed up at Rigby, Rigby has all of a sudden become a winning team. They went 7-4 last year. Randy Waite's now in his 4th season. I mean, they lost in the state semis to Sandpoint. You were at that game, Paul.
Yep.
31-22.
Muddy game,
yeah.
Nasty game.
You can get those up there.
Tyson was back there. Yeah, he's there.
Rigby was a perennial losing team prior to Randy Waite showing up. And ever since that time, the preparation has changed, the philosophy has changed, the mentality surrounding Rigby football has changed. They won more games in their first season when in 2013 in Randy Waite's first season than they did in the previous 6 years combined. And you add that all up, and you see here that he's got a winning mentality. He's got the kids believing in themselves. Now they've got a big challenge moving up to 5A.
Yeah.
Different level of competition. But again, there's 3 berths that go to the East Idaho 5A conference this year. For them, I see it as a challenge, and especially one that where Rigby has the coaching staff in place and also a lot of players in place that can make it happen, where they could challenge for that 3rd, maybe even that 2nd seed coming out of East Idaho for the playoffs. And then, I mean, you beat Bonneville, you beat Hillcrest, you're pretty much in at that point when it comes to the playoffs. They start out tough, though. I mean, their schedule is really tough. They start out with Syracuse, Utah, and the Rocky Mountain Rumble. That's a very, very tough team. Then you got Skyline, who could be a potential candidate in 4A. Mm-hmm. Then they come right here to Kuna to play an out-of-conference game, and then, of course, they move into their regular conference schedule. So for them this year, they are definitely a sleeper team. If they can get their personnel right, they have a lot of shoes to fill, but I do believe that they have a shot at making it to state.
Paul, who's your 5A sleeper?
Well, before I want to add one little quick dealio to this. Is one thing that Rigby has going for them is from the personal experience of doing that Sandpoint game, was the crowd that came with them was so impressive to me. I mean, it's not a quick drive to Sandpoint from Rigby.
Yeah, it's 9 hours.
And it's not really a quick drive to Sandpoint from almost anywhere.
Unless you live in Canada, right over the
Bonners Ferry or something.
Yeah.
But the fans they brought, the parents, the fans, the students they brought was impressive to me. It stood out to me. It wasn't a fun day. It was rainy. It was muddy. And on the sidelines, in the bleachers, and stretched out were the Rigby faithful. You have that behind you. It's not only the kids buying into the program, it's the parents buying into the program. Unfortunately, in high school, that has to do a lot sometimes. So just having that support from the community is big for Rigby.
And one final thing I wanted to add, they scored 47 offensive touchdowns last year. Of all those touchdowns they scored, only players who scored 2 touchdowns returned. So 2 touchdowns total. That's a lot of offense to replace, but a lot of opportunity, too.
Right. All right, my on the spot. Lewiston. I mentioned I was going to talk about Lewiston a little bit. Sean Nilsson, 5th year. Over there, 9-2 last year. Again, that's one of the best records they've had in quite a while. Lost to Rocky Mountain, eventual champions, but 65-20 in the quarterfinals. But that high offense, high octane Rocky Mountain team. But Lewiston can put on some serious points as well. 45 points a game is what they averaged before that game. 28.6 allowed. So good defense as well. They lost by 56 to Coeur d'Alene, 65 Rocky. They had trouble with the high-octane offense, so that's the defense is really what we have to look at. Bring back Colton Richardson. He could have his dream season this year. Of course, if you have a dream season, you have to be able to pass to someone. I mean, a good quarterback can throw all day long, but if it just lands in the green grass, it really doesn't matter. But he's got Riley Ray, Troy Allers, Jarrett Driscoll, Keyshawn Clark. He has guys that can catch. And for a good quarterback like that, he can just sit back, close his eyes, loft it up, and know they're going to catch the ball downfield. Now, again, the key is going to be stepping up the defense. If they can stop those high-octane offenses from coming in and scoring a lot of points on them, they're going to do well. Their offense is going to score the points. That's just a given. But the defense has to be able to stop the ball and get some turnovers.
And you mentioned them being kind of out on the thumb. 2 of their 3 IEL games, Lake City, Coeur d'Alene, both go to Lewiston.
Right.
And they open up the season in the Rocky Mountain Rumble at Holt Arena against Highland, so that's a very early test for them. And we'll get a really good gauge on both teams, even though it's the first week of the season. We'll really see kind of what they're going to bring to the table this year.
And we'll be webcasting that live in Idaho Sports.
I will be there for that game. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Stay with us for just a couple of minutes. We're going to take a timeout, pay some bills. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the issues facing the 5A classification, also get you set for the Week 1 webcast schedule, and talk about something fun we have coming up on IdahoSports.com. We're going to do all that. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. You're watching the 5A High School Football Preview Show here on IdahoSports.com.
Check out my multi-movie simulation station.
Why wouldn't you just take Cable One's new Ultimate TV experience powered by TiVo? It's a whole home DVR that lets you record 4 HD shows at once. Cool. Cable One, it's just common sense.
Some people go the extra mile. Your Northwest Toyota dealer goes the extra 25,000 miles. They give you 2 years or 25,000 miles of no-cost maintenance and 24-hour roadside assistance. It's called Toyota Care, and it's included with every new Toyota. That means wherever you are, you'll be prepared for anything. Get Toyota Care no-cost maintenance and roadside assistance at your Northwest Toyota dealer today. The best in the Northwest. Toyota, let's go places.
Valleywide Cooperative is a locally owned farm supply cooperative committed to meeting the needs of its customers since 1920. We provide you products and services of the highest quality. We are found serving our customers throughout southern Idaho, eastern Oregon, western Wyoming, and other neighboring states. We provide agronomic products and services, bulk feed and petroleum, competitive services in our propane division, and a vast array of products in our Valley Country store locations. Let us help you. Come see us today at the Valleywide Cooperative.
Here come the last of the 2016s.
Stylish Prius, sporty Camry, adventurous RAV4, they're all here. But not for long. Come in and get the 2016 Toyota you want before they are gone.
Toyota, let's go places. It was our dream to move out here. I just wasn't sure what she would think. Took her away from her friends, asked her to do twice the work of most kids her age. But through it all, she never gave up. On me, or anything else. Wonder where she learned that. Massey Ferguson, the last tractor you'll ever need.
Welcome back to the IdahoSports.com football preview show. I'm Will Hoenike, closing in on kickoff to the regular season, just a few days away, if you can believe that. One big change this year in the 5A. It's actually gone statewide. They'd always done it in the 1A, the 8-man ranks, but now they've expanded it to a statewide thing. There's now a statewide mercy rule, which they have not always had before. If a game starts to get out of hand, they've changed things up to make things a little bit more shall we say, a little bit more user-friendly, if you will, to the team that's on the wrong end of that. So joined by Matt Harris and Paul Kingsbury here. Matt, why don't you explain to us how the mercy rule works? Because there are going to be people in 5A and 4A classifications that just aren't familiar with it.
Well, kind of to give some background on it, this was initiated by some teams in the 2A Western Idaho Conference, and what they did was they wanted to put it in for 2A. Well, the IHSAA kind of took it to the schools, and then they wanted to expand it to all classifications just to make it all across classifications. Now, this one works for 5A through 2A, right. And what it is once the 40-point threshold is reached, at any point starting at halftime or anywhere through the second half, the clock then runs. The only time the clock stops will be for injury timeouts, team timeouts, or I guess officials timeouts as well, and when a team scores. That's the only time that it'll stop. Otherwise, it'll just continually run, and it's mainly because, well, a couple of reasons. One, you want if it's a blowout, there's no need to prolong that blowout anymore. Right. And the other reason for that, Will, is there's injuries and there's concerns about concussions and whatnot as well.
Now, Paul, there is an audience out there. There's a fraction of people that are out there that are going to say, don't want to get your head kicked in, then get better. Yep. Practice more. Right. It's not necessarily, some parents may say, or some players may feel, it's not necessarily fair to penalize the kids that are ahead 49-7, potentially costing them some playing time with a running clock. Right. How would you respond to those concerns?
If you start slacking off, that's when injuries happen. I mean, that's always a common comeback with that. In the old days of the 8-man mercy rule, the game ended, and I was never a fan of that because basically you're like Salmon River. Your Van Der Esch's would go in, blow everybody out, and then the kid that's second or third down the bench would never get to play. Right. So I was always a proponent of just run the clock. Let the kids come in. I was a third, fourth stringer in basketball, So,
and those teams only had 2 strings.
Exactly. And I had a towel.
Yeah.
I was mad.
You were
mad
Ollie,
skills with that towel.
You were Ollie from Hoosiers.
Yes. Except he actually got in and played.
Oh, he did. He made a big free throw.
So having those kids get the opportunity, I like this new mercy rule, the way it's set up to do. As a broadcaster, I'm a huge fan of it. We did Valley Lapway 104-48 last year at the Kibbe Dome. If it hadn't been a mercy rule, running clock,
you might still be there.
The first quarter was an hour long, right at an hour. So it's not a bad thing. It keeps the game moving. It allows kids to play. I'm a fan.
Now, Matt, in the 5A classification and the 4A classification, we don't know how often we'll see this. You'll have your odd game here and there, but I would say, without looking at empirical data in front of me, more often than not, you're not going to have a game that's 49-7. Right. Early in the third quarter.
Yeah, agreed. And a lot of it has to do with, you see it a lot with in the 2As and even the 3As in some parts. But 4A, 5A, you don't see it a whole lot. So I don't know how much we're actually going to see this implemented this year in 4A and 5A, how many blowouts there are actually going to be. I mean, there's going to be blowouts. Will it be 40-point blowouts? I don't know. But like you said, there's not a lot of teams that this is actually going to happen to. If it does, however, like Paul mentioned, it's going to get those second and third stringers in there. And if you think about it, it's really going to help you with your program because now you're getting a whole bunch of experience for those young kids. And I guess in one comment you can make about it is, well, why do you need the mercy rule when coaches know they're 40 points up? Shouldn't they be putting that in? Well, obviously that's not the case sometimes. There's a need to have that rule in there to kind of help that out.
Well, and you got to play the game. At the end of the day, you got to play the game. If you're a 5-wide spread offense and you're ahead 52-0, you can't exactly go to a single wing to run out the clock.
Well, and what are you going to tell those kids? Just stop playing? Or are you going to tell them, don't play as hard? Well, what's kind of service is that doing to them? That's not helping them in any way, shape, or form.
Just let the clock run, let the game get over quicker, off the field, everybody's happy.
Exactly. And
get your orange slices and go home.
High school sports is about participation.
Yeah.
Participate. Don't you? And that's why I never liked the 1A rule when it just ended, especially from our standpoint. We go somewhere and broadcast a game, we do half a game, and the game's done.
Yeah, drive an hour up to Garden Valley, and it's over 30 minutes later.
Exactly, and so I think
it's
this is
pretty drive.
I mean, I don't think this will be implemented tons in the upper level classifications, but when it will be very nice for us. It'll be nice for both teams involved. It'll be nice for fans and everyone. I think it's a great change.
Another change we have coming up this year when it comes to state tournaments, IdahoSports.com will be the exclusive audio rights holder, so you'll be able to, if you're not able to attend the games, if you're not able to watch the games, you can still click on IdahoSports.com, Paul, and you can listen to state tournament games, the state championships for free.
You can. One thing, at 10 years, we held the exclusive audio and video rights, and now it's those rights have been given to another company, so they'll be doing the video. So we came in and asked, hey, let's do some audio rights. The board agreed. They had a bid process for it, and the board last week approved it. And so we'll be signing a contract with the IHSA for the exclusive audio streaming rights for all the state tournaments. Now, what that entails, there's two things. Fans have a question of what are you guys going to do? We're going to do as many state football games as we can. First off, we'll do as many with video as we can, obviously, but as soon as the video rights kick in and the new company is at the game, we'll do audio. State basketball. We're going to do all 132 boys and girls games just like we always have, but it will be audio only. Now, the other question that we've been getting a lot from the board and from athletic directors is, how will this affect radio? Does it affect radio at all? No, it doesn't.
Yeah, the home radio station from Pocatello can still come and do the games.
Exactly. It doesn't. These rights have nothing to do with radio unless they want to stream those games on a website, on the internet. Then we just communicate and whatnot. But if KART from Jerome wants to come down and put it on the radio, great. Listen to 1400 AM in Jerome, and you can listen to the game. Fantastic. I'd love to see radio at every game. I'm actually a little disappointed over the last few years. There's fewer and fewer radio stations coming down to state tournaments. I mean, state radio has been involved in state tournaments for 60 years. I mean, it's just what it is. So more the merrier when it comes to coverage of high school sports.
And as well, we're going to keep those streams free for everyone as well. That's our goal, to keep it free for use and for the video ones as well, and the audio ones that we're going to do at state tournaments. I mean, we have a lot of guys who have experience in radio. Yourself, Will, myself, Scott Burton.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got a bunch of guys who are ready and geared up to do this. We think it's going to be a lot of fun, and as our papers go flying here. But
you're right.
We're very, very excited that we have the rights.
That's actually a good point. As far as broadcasters go, we've got probably the best stable of broadcasters in the state. You mentioned you've done radio before. Will Hoenike will be there doing state tournaments, and he did hockey over the radio by himself.
Years.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun. Vince Stromboli's done it. Gary Jones has done it. He'll be there. So
Joe Hughes.
All these guys. It's a lot of fun. Lauren, we're thinking about it.
We may let you play, Lauren. We may let you out. Now, one thing that doesn't change, guys, is during the regular season, we're still going to have the video webcast. Nothing has changed, and it starts week 1 coming up on August 26th and 27th. A number of good games coming up. Paul, why don't you run through a few of the games that we'll be able to see right here in week 1? The Rocky Mountain Rumble will be available.
Right.
Some other games that we'll be doing.
American Falls, Aberdeen, Snake River, Blackfoot is on there. Matt, the Rocky Mountain Rumble, you know those games. You'll be there.
Yeah, there's going to be 6 games at Holt Arena to start out the season. There's going to be on the Friday, you've got Rocky Mountain versus Pleasant Grove, Utah. Then you've got Shelley versus Snow Canyon out of Santa Clara, Utah. Then on the Saturday, you've got 4 more games. You've got Minico going to be playing there, Skyview, Rigby, Highland, playing teams like Box Elder. Right. We mentioned Highland Lewiston already. There's also going to be Stansbury out of Tooele, Utah is going to be playing there. Syracuse, Utah also.
It's fun.
That's, 6 games in 2 days. I mean, it doesn't get better, especially when you're inside the dome and it's just everyone's excited for football to be back. That first week of the season is just so special. It's just so fun to be a part of.
A couple other games we're doing. I believe it's Timberline at Emmett, and
that should be a good one.
Yeah, it should be a very good one. Emmett coming up. We'll talk about Emmett later on, but coming up from 3A champion, moving up into the 4A ranks. So that's going to be a fun one. But we're also going to be doing Kuna at Bishop Kelly. Speaking of state champions, Bishop Kelly 3 in a row. Kuna moving up to 5A. So now it's the 5A going into 4A, which on paper says 5A wins.
We'll see. But going into Bishop Kelly, obviously,
we'll see.
No small task for anyone. Hey, if you want to join the party here on IdahoSports.com, best way to do it is via social media. Check us out, Facebook. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram. We're available in all the locations. Follow the party. We'll have information on photo galleries, on game stream schedules. We'll have all kinds of information that you can find. You can learn more about schedules. You can learn more about scores. All those by following us on social media and also joining the party at IdahoSports.com. Well, that's going to do it here for the 5A preview, IdahoSports.com 5A preview show. Matt Harris, Paul Kingsbury, thanks very much, gentlemen. We're going to have one of these for every classification. So if you're interested in the 3A and the 2A and the 1A, we'll have those coming out. You'll be able to watch those as well. Get ready for the season. It is going to be a good one. Special thanks to Tyson and Lauren, our producers. They're hiding behind the camera right now. Face for radio up here. Face for not even radio back there. That's why they're there, but we appreciate their time very much as well. Also, a special thanks to Greg Carpenter and the staff here at Kuna High School for letting us tape the preview shows here in Kuna. Well, we can't wait for kickoff. We're excited. We hope you are too. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a great day.